Hello and welcome to the Blacklock podcast with me, Rex Worth. Joining me tonight, the smuggler captain himself, James Gibson Price. Hello, Jimbo.
Hi, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. How are you?
Yeah, good. All right. Dialing in internationally tonight
From your
uh,
Paris bolt hole,
from the bolt hole in Paris.
your
Exactly.
pied-à-terre in Paris.
My bachelor pad.
Two bed in West London, single bed in Paris.
That's all I need to do the damage.
It's actually a nice analogy for where the Blacklocks kind of come to, the gentrification of the Blacklock. If I think back at the beginning, you were in a shithole in Putney and we're like in the rain at the point. Now we're living it up in Catalonia. You've got a little city break destination pad, and a two-bed duplex in West London.
Exactly. Duplex.
No,
Little mezzanine number.
it's got a balcony.
It does have a balcony.
Anyway, onto the matter at hand. The reason for this pod, an emergency pod, if you like, is, well, there's been rumours out there. We'll come on to it, but I feel like we needed to get on here and get ahead of the story. You get ahead of the story, you control the narrative. Because I've heard some mutterings, you've heard some mutterings, but kind of we only know the truth. So, without giving away too many spoilers, we're going to have a little tweak to the Blacklock format this year. And well, let's keep them dangling, otherwise they'll stop listening straight away. Before telling them what we think that tweak should be or what that tweak is going to be, why don't you give us a little insight into what we thought wasn't working in the Blacklock over the last kind of few years and what prompted a little review into the format?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had the same format since the very first Blacklock one, but there's always been kind of rumblings and conversation about should we change it slightly, like which bits do people enjoy the most, which bits are people sort of trudging through and not particularly enjoying. And I think we want to make sure we're getting the right balance between kind of competition and the amount of golf played as well. And the last few years have not, well, with the exception of Blacklock's 7, I guess, which is the one the Smugglers won. Apart from that, it's been pretty one-way traffic. So we want to make it as kind of competitive as possible.
And specifically, because I was involved in some of those conversations with you and Billy, it's the singles really where, and I think we probably can be confident we speak for everyone, which it just wasn't really a session which worked. I feel like it just kind of dragged. I never liked playing a singles match in a 4-ball. Like you just had another match going on. It felt like it should be camaraderie, but it never did. And it was always just like you say, the match was kind of gone in, basically every year apart from one, and you're kind of trudging rounds and you don't really get a sense of what else is going on. So that, I think, was the main kind of catalyst for a bit of a review.
Yeah, I think that it's really clear that everyone likes the team format bits. They're the best bits. They're the ones that are way more tactical. There's a lot of discussion and decision points as you go round, rather than just purely just playing your own ball all the way round. And actually, the singles hardly ever went down 18 as well, which was the other thing. Is actually, although in theory you play more golf in the singles because you play your own ball, last year there were a lot of 6 and 5s, 7 and 5s. 4 and 3s, and actually we typically only get to play sort of 12, 13 holes, and sometimes the match is over. Whereas actually, if you look back at the sort of the foursomes and 4-ball formats, a lot of them get down to sort of 16, 17 holes each time. So it stays as more competitive, and actually you potentially even get more golf by doing them as well.
Yeah. No, I agree with all that. And before we come on to the new proposed format, I can already hear in my ears, if you like, the Radmans, the Hazelwoods kind of shouting from the ramparts, well, how have you made this decision? Who's in charge of this? Not everyone would have read the Harry Bowser bylaws that he published a few years ago. I don't think anyone's read them. But just to kind of assure people, well, I can give you but it's the Blacklock's not really a democracy. I mean, it's kind of player run, but democracy is kind of weak and it's decadent. And so really we got the two captains, as kind of joint commissioners, I would say, who really have kind of bilateral power here. And then, again, getting out in front of the story, I should probably declare a bit of a vested interest here. I was privy to, what was happening behind closed doors. I've seen the sausage get made. I don't really have any right to be there, other than I've probably played some part organising some of them. And then the other man we should mention from a governance point of view, head of the Player Advisory Committee, the PAC, John Owen, again, slightly self-appointed, but to be honest, in the same way that kind of Rory McIlroy has spoken for the PGA Tour. It's kind of self-appointed by just being the best and the most kind of the biggest brand out there. So I don't think anyone would begrudge John holding that position.
It was needed as well, to be honest, to have that kind of spokesperson without us meddling in,
Yeah,
getting our hands dirty. It's good for them for everyone to have a voice, even if it's John's voice and only John's voice.
yeah. And it actually, I was thinking it is actually quite analogous to the PGA Tour situation at the moment. The PGA Tour famously a members organisation, like for the players, by the players. But actually, when push comes to shove and it's dick on the table side, it's like the big wigs roll in and make the big calls, and the little, the shit munchers get left by the wayside. So not that
And
anyone
that,
would like that to shit muncher, but
and now we've now taken the Saudi money and come up with a new format, a completely new format for golf.
exactly.
Not quite shotgun starts, but
We're
yeah,
growing the game. We're growing the
exactly.
game, and I don't see how anyone can argue with that. Okay, so do you want to take us through the format,
Yeah,
the
sure.
new format?
Yes, so the new format, as I said, is focused on more team rounds and but still trying to make it as competitive and have as much golf as possible. So we're still going to start on the first morning with foursomes, same as before. Then in the afternoon, we're going to move to a format called Chapman, and we'll go into a bit of detail of kind of what that looks like, how that works. And then Saturday morning is Greensomes, which is another new format that we're bringing in. And then the final afternoon is the four ball. So we're still keeping the four ball, but it will be moved from the first afternoon to the second afternoon. And yeah, we'll get on to kind of the scoring of that. But obviously, historically, the singles is where most of the points are. So we want to make sure we still keep that final afternoon potential where where both teams are capable of winning.
Okay, so let's dig into that. There's a lot to digest. So first morning foursomes unchanged, always has been, like sacrosanct event in the morning to kick off the event.
Mm-hmm.
Chapman in the afternoon. I hadn't heard of it before we kind of discovered this. Walk us through how that works.
So it's also known as hit switch bitch. The idea is that
By you.
very much so. Now I've heard of it. Now I've heard the name. I'm using it all the time. But yeah, so it's both players drive. Then you switch balls and you hit your partner's drive. So you take the second shot on your partner's drive. So then you've got two drives in play, then two second shots. Then you, as a partnership, pick the best ball of those two, and then you play alternate shot to the end of the hole, and then you start the next hole. So it's pretty much the same as foursomes, except you both get to drive and you both get to take a second shot. So it should be more golf, but still the sort of tactics involved of which ball do we take, etc.
Yeah. And you and I and John and Billy trialed this a few months ago, and it was pretty good fun, to be honest. I think it made for, and this is one of the criticisms we had kind of made with some of the previous formats in the Blacklock, that a lot of holes were just done too early. Like, you're in the fairway and you already know you've won the hole, and like hopefully this keeps more balls in play longer. You've actually got like pressure, needle, chips and putts, and actually more holes matter, hopefully closer matches. And the other thing to be, so this year in Catalonia, first morning foursomes is on the stadium course, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So this Chapman new format is going to be the first afternoon on the stadium course, which again I think will be good. It's a tough course, we all remember from last year, and so actually having two bites at both the drive and the second shot can only be a good thing, because that beat a few of us up, that course. And there was not many times from my memory where both me and my partner and the opposing team were all on the green kind of with a live match. It was just kind of like, fuck it, I'll see you on the next tee.
Yeah, exactly.
Get
And I
the
think
beers in from the cart.
if you look at the par threes, I mean, you're going to have hopefully there's a decent chance that you're going to have, if both tee shots get on the green, you've got two birdie putts.
That's the other thing, of course. Yeah, I remember that. That's good. That is a good little wrinkle. And the par five. So yeah, that's just good clarification, because it applies to all holes regardless of the par. So par five, you might still be way short, but you still got to pick your best one after two.
Exactly.
Same with par threes. Like, you really should be having a birdie look. And par, if you don't make par in Chapman on a par three, well, you don't deserve to win the hole, really, frankly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's first afternoon, and then Greensome. Just run through it briefly. I think most people know what's going on there.
Greensome is a fairly standard format. So you both drive, and then you just pick the better ball and alternate. So it's the sort of one step back from the Chapman version, because everybody drives, but then you choose a ball then, and then you play that on.
Yeah, and this year we're switching around. That's going to happen on the stadium course.
That is on the stadium course as well, yeah, because we go tour, stadium, tour. So this will be on the Saturday morning.
With buggies.
With buggies, yeah.
You negotiated
Have you got like
us.
a klaxon? Have you got a klaxon we can do for a big alert?
We had lots of sound effects, but none of them worked, sadly. But if there was, it would be kind of bear horn style. Nice. Yeah, Jimbo's negotiated. You've negotiated pretty hard with that Swedish bloke, I think, from memory, that, a few buggies thrown in.
This is a new person, but yeah, there's some buggies thrown in on the Saturday morning. So I think it will give us a fairly sort of relatively gentle start, at least on the legs, if not on the mind, with the Greensims decisions to make, I guess.
And the theory being, we go out first on the stadium course, we avoid that massive party of Pakistani golfers who may or may not be returning. We don't know.
Exactly.
But anything under a 6R round would be a win. Okay, and then the final session is a 4-ball, and like you alluded to earlier, the logic here. So we're going to say the 4-ball is worth double points. So each match is worth 2 points. And the thinking there was to say, okay, we knew we wanted to axe the singles. We thought, okay, but let's play your own ball. 4-ball is way better. You still play your own ball, but it's got an element of team spirit. Scoring will be good. Then we kind of led to, that doesn't work if you have 2 4-ball sessions all worth a point, because actually then you've got a tournament which is only worth 16 points in total. It's kind of not enough scope for big swings if there's a comeback needed. So that's then led us down the introduction of Chapman and Greensims, and then the idea being the final 4-ball session Saturday afternoon, the only 4-ball session, double points, all to play for. We're hopefully going to see some fireworks, and no lead should be too big, because a 4-ball session, legitimately either team could win 4-0, you could see 3-1, so you could see huge swings, and hopefully no lead will be out of sight, and we'll see some fireworks. I also, which I think is probably a bit overdue, I don't want everyone to be looking at glued to their phones throughout the round, but I do think some form of, you get these apps
live scoring,
made for these kind of golf trips where you can at least keep an eye on what the other groups are doing, because all being well, this is all designed, grow the game, take the Saudi money, grow the game, give the fans a more experience, A
few more interviews walking from fairway to green as well, like really on course interviews.
I think we can get some. The gun is just a content machine. I mean, if we're not leveraging the brand potential of Luke Gunn, already, we need to do more of it, I think.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Dream team.
I agree.
All right, so that's quite a lot to take in. All of this will be published on the website, along with team news and details about the round. For those of you not familiar with it, that's blacklockgolf.wixsite.com/blacklock-golf. Lots of good content on there. Check that out for a recent article about an interview I had with Harry Richards recently. There's actually quite a lot of Harry Richards content on there generally. So if you like all things Bowser, and I'd be surprised if you didn't, head over to the Blacklock site. That's the new format. Anything more on the new format? Have we covered it?
Covered, I think. Yeah, Foursome, Chapman, Greensims, Ball.
Let's touch on some team news. I don't want to go too much into it, because the plan is we'll do a preview pod ahead of this year's Blacklock like we did last year. Guests, TBC, format TBC. But bit of team news. Again, it's on the site if you haven't seen it. But for the Smugglers, John Ackroyd and Big Al stepping out. Guy Hazelwood and Rob Eckersley returning to the fore. Is this just squad rotation? Is this just like Kevin De Bruyne comes out, in comes Riyad Mahrez, or is there more to it?
It's a bit of rotation. It's a bit of form. You've got to look at the guys and say who's playing well. Jackers has been MVP a few times, but then
he's also been LVP.
He's been LVP, and look, I think we've seen what Taze can do.
Have we? Because Taze, I'm pretty sure, hasn't played golf since the Swinley West Hill Blacklock. But you think you know what you're getting?
Well, I mean, he got 3 points. 3 points out of 4. You can't sniff at that. And I've had a stunning foursomes round with him in Prince's the year before, where I believe we beat Devitt and Radman, I think, something like that.
Sounds almost unlikely that ever happened.
Almost unlikely, but it really was. And I think it's look, Taze back in.
He travels
And
well.
Rob,
He's played a lot of golf in Spain. You probably
yeah,
already know that. He's played a lot of golf on the continent, particularly in Spain. Loves it out there.
exactly.
Loves the heat. He's a hot guy. He's a hot kind of hot weather like track man, high ball flight, Bermuda greens, beers, cart girls, short wearing. He's a swashbuckler.
He's made for it. He really is made for it out there. And
And
those
then
long irons, I think, are going to come in well.
and then Codboy.
And Codboy coming off top four finish in the Scottish trip, I think,
Yeah,
if I recall correctly. Recently posted, or rather didn't post officially, a very good score on a round with his old man. So
yeah.
yeah, he's coming in some nice form.
He's hitting the ball fucking cleanly. I'll give him that. And also, him and John Owen last time they were together when we did the Swinley West Hill one were an absolute force to be reckoned with. That's kind of like Spieth, JT, Stenson, Rose vibes with those two
Exactly.
when they get rolling. So, like you say, Big Al and John Ackroyd, big hitters, big players, done a lot for the Smugglers. But it's hard to criticise the changes you've made. I think you've strengthened, and you need to
And,
strengthen.
and good to have the gun back in as well. Like that kind of yeah.
Yeah,
He's still, I think he's still an enigma. We've all seen him. His best stuff was on the range, I think, is pretty fair to
yeah.
say.
I think with Gunn, you want to go year to year contract wise. The worst thing you could do is sign him
Lock him
up.
in.
Yeah, like the Pardew contract. Like if you gave him like a 7 year big money contract, that's blowing up in your face when he lets you down. Midway through the second round this year. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think you want to go year to year with him. Just see how he goes. Keep him chomping at the bit. Keep him
Even
hungry.
less. We could liken it to Big Sam. Just get him in. Just like last minute shit. We're in a bit of trouble here. In comes the gun.
Yeah,
And he's fresh off. Let's not forget he took Billy to the cleaners in the singles at Catalonia last year.
He did.
So that's his final round.
Then took Radman to the cleaners in the dinner after.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, he hits a long ball, so I kind of want to hear him hit that stealth driver a few more times anyway. Um, your opposing captain hasn't joined us, but Bowser out, Gits back in for the Crows. There's been chatter about that. I'm sure that raised an eyebrow in your camp, probably a positive way. But any thoughts on that?
From a personal perspective, delighted. Bowser beat me 7-6 or 6-5 last year.
Yeah,
I think he got 4 out of 4 points.
he did.
So,
he did.
like, what more can he do to stay in the Crows? It does beg the question. It does feel high risk.
And I think, and like I say, I'll let him comment on that. I don't want to speculate as to Billy's thinking, but I am going to speculate.
Please do.
And I would say he's a bit feast or famine Bowser. So you're either getting 3.5, 4, or you're getting nothing. And not only nothing, but he's going down in a ball of flames and probably taking down half the team with him. So I think with Gits, you've got line and length. He's not going to go anywhere, and he's a dream match play kind of operator. Very good putter, good driver of the ball. I think he'll suit Catalonia quite well.
He'll be your only left-hander, will he, as well?
He'll be our only left-hander, which is good, and it should match up nicely with you. I think that's going to be a singles match, Bob, if we can rig it.
But we're not doing the singles, obviously.
Okay, well, of course we're not doing it. We'll always change the format back. That'll be 2024. We'll go back to the singles. You can play it. Anything else? Anything to plug?
No, just the socials. If you didn't catch the website that Rhett's mentioned earlier, the link is on the social medias as well. So at
we're on
Blacklock Golf,
at Blacklock Golf,
at Blacklock Golf on Instagram, and yeah, more news to come on there.
Team news, not team news, but news of people in your team. Shout out to John Owen, had a baby last week.
He did.
Yeah, little Billy Owen.
Little Billy Owen.
What was that a bit of a fuck you when you heard the name choice? To you?
I didn't consider it, actually. I think he was born the day before. He's one day off being Billy's birthday as well. Billy Henson.
I mean, is that not the equivalent? I mean, it's not as overt, but is that not effectively a transfer request handed in? Or you're not reading it? You're not reading too much into it.
I've not read it in that way. It would be surprising, but John's a model professional. I wouldn't expect it. I think it might be just to get into Billy Henson's head, actually, just suddenly make him think he's part of it, and then John takes him down.
Well, he's certainly capable of that. Yeah. Well, if you'd like to wish John congratulations, he's on WhatsApp, or you can get him on Instagram at Smuggler4Life. That's the number 4 Life, LYFE, or he's on Twitter at Here to See Jez. So hit him up on those. Hit him up on the socials. He's big on the socials, and he'd love to hear from you. Um, I think that's a wrap, Jimbo. Anything else from you?
Lovely. No, cheers. Thanks for
Brilliant.
having me.
Thanks for
Speak
coming
soon.
on. We'll speak soon.